Welcome to our midweek devotion for December 6th. How does a weary world rejoice? We find joy in connection. Today's midweek content is sourced and inspired by our Advent series from Sanctified Art. How does a weary world rejoice? I want you to think about the last time that you really felt joyful. You felt so happy. You felt so excited. You wanted to jump around or hug someone. When is that last time that you felt really joyful? As I read this scripture, think about those moments of joy. Who or what did you feel connected to? Today's scripture dwells on pregnancy. We acknowledge the grief that can come with infertility, and you are welcome to skip to the end of the video to care for yourself. Reading from Luke. After those days, his wife Elizabeth conceived, and for 5 months she remained in seclusion. She said, "This is what the Lord has done for me in this time, when he looked favorably on me and took away the disgrace I have endured among my people." In the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent by God to a town in Galilee called Nazareth, to a virgin engaged to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David. The virgin's name was Mary. And he came to her and said, "Greetings, favored one, the Lord is with you." But she was much perplexed by his words and pondered what sort of greeting this might be. The angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. And now you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you will name him Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High, and the Lord God will give to him the throne of his ancestor David. He will reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there will be no end." Mary said to the angel, "How can this be, since I am a virgin?" The angel said to her, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore the child to be born will be holy. He will be called Son of God. And now your relative Elizabeth, in her old age, has also conceived a son, and this is the 6th month for her who was said to be barren. For nothing will be impossible with God." Then Mary said, "Here am I, the servant of the Lord. Let it be with me according to your word." Then the angel departed from her. In those days Mary set out and went with haste to a Judean town in the hill country, where she entered the house of Zachariah and greeted Elizabeth. When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the child leaped in her womb. And Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit and exclaimed with a loud cry, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. And why has this happened to me, that the mother of my Lord comes to me? For as soon as I heard the sound of your greeting, the child in my womb leaped for joy. And blessed is she who believed that there would be a fulfillment of what was spoken to her by the Lord." So we've read this scripture with Mary and Elizabeth, and the two of them meeting, and they are both pregnant, and there's such joy in their interaction. So now we turn to an artistic reflection. Here is one of the works of art from our series from Sanctified Art, and I will read the artist's description. In the painting, Two Mothers, artist Nicolette Peñaranda pays homage to Frida Kahlo's famous work, Two Fridas, from 1939. She shares about giving birth to a premature baby and feeling connected to parents of other preemie babies, and then she says, "It is because of this connections that parents share that I felt instantly connected to paying homage to Frida Kahlo's Two Fridas. Rather than being connected from veins of the heart, Mary and Elizabeth would be connected through the uterus." She continues, "Nearly a quarter of Black women between ages 18 and 30 have fibroids, while also being the racial demographic with the highest maternal death rate in the United States. More than 100,000 women undergo some form of mastectomy each year. Globally, an estimated 14% of girls give birth before the age of 18. Where do these realities meet the heart of Scripture? How do we see the struggles of infertility or empathize with the vulnerability that comes with not being a socially accepted pregnant person? She continues again. While Elizabeth is crowned with holy gray hair and a dress marked with the blood of previous miscarriages, Mary sits next to her, holding a childhood doll, draped in the jewelry, flowers, and silks of a traditional Middle Eastern Jewish bride. Their stories and experiences are vastly different, but Mary sought out her kin. This reminds me that we do not need to do the hard things alone. There is power in connection. I encourage you to press pause if you'd like, just to reflect on this image that you see on the screen a bit more. So, it is in connection with all things, humans, nature, God, the universe, that brings us joy. And I say all things because oftentimes we believe that we can only find our joy in connection with other humans. And that can be part of the reason that makes the holidays really hard if we're experiencing grief, the loss of a loved one, or a estranged relationship. But we can find connection in all sorts of ways. In all sorts of connections, we can find our joy. And so I encourage you just to think about those relationships, those connections that bring you joy. For me, it's my family, of course, my coworkers, and my cats, and also being outside just in God's creation and feeling connected to the earth brings me joy. So, what connections can you seek out this Advent season? Or perhaps what connections were a happy surprise for you in recent moments that gave you joy? Is it possible that you need more connection in your life? Is it possible that that's just the very thing that you need, even if all you want to do is retreat in your weariness? And now we're going to show some pictures of Calvary connections, just to give you an idea of ways that your church family can provide connection and that joy. So often, so many of us come to church to worship God, to have belonging, and to find meaningful connection. And it is always your pastor's prayer that Calvary is a place where you can find authentic relationships, a place where you can feel loved and cared for. And we hope that this Advent season that you are able to find more connections that give you joy. That on your hard days, you're able to think about those connections that give you joy, connections of all kinds, human, nature, God, the universe. What ways can you find joy in connection?